Okay, I think now is a good time to start. Before we get any further, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Philip Owayan. I am one of the admission specialists here at SMU Global and Online. We host a handful of professional certificate programs, some including graphic design, paralegal studies, digital marketing, user experience design. But tonight we will be focusing on one of our programs called Project Management. I'm joined here along with one of our instructors who I'll introduce shortly. But before we go on to the main portion of tonight, you will be receiving a sneak peek of what the program will entail for the next 5 weeks, should you choose to join. I will be posting some more information on the chat box, and if you do have questions, again, please feel free to post them on the Q&A portion. If you do also post them in the chat box, please address it to all panelists and attendees so that we may be able to view your questions, and that way we can address them along the way. I wanted to give you all a highlight of what the program entails. This has changed if you are familiar with this program that we've offered in the past. This is entirely online from start to finish. So the length of the program is 5 weeks. It will start on October 6th and end on November 5th. And it will be taking place online on Zoom, just like this, but you'll be able to interact with your instructor during your classes. It'll be taking place from 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And for those that may be joining us outside of Texas or a different state or a different time zone, please note that this is happening during Central Standard Time. So again, that is 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The tuition right now, the current cost is $3,745. That priority rate does expire on September 22nd. So if you are looking to apply soon or have interest in this program, we want to make sure you take advantage of that rate. It does go up to $3,995 after that date. During this webinar, we will be sharing a 10% discount code for all of you. So stick around if you are wanting to take advantage of that as well. I post some of my personal information on the chat box. There's my number, our email address if you have questions. There's also a link to our Project Management Certificate website if you would like to view some information during the webinar. And then some of the facts that I just highlighted right now. So we're going to go ahead and I'm sure a lot of you are excited with what this sneak peek will be. And we do introduce yourself to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I wanted to express my thanks to you as guests on this webinar. Thank you for your interest. And I hope that within the next 20 minutes, you will make a very good decision to take a course that will really make a difference in your career. I'm going to, as was mentioned, do a little sneak peek of the curriculum. So I'm going to share my screen. And it should be coming up now. You can put it in speaker view if you like, or you can stay in gallery, but you should be able to see my screen. Give me a chat if you can't. What I would like to do is to present about 4 sections of a very comprehensive course. And tonight I'm doing that because we've been teaching this course for a number of years in partnership with Southern Methodist University. And a lot of the students have similar dilemmas or problems to solve when they are managing projects. Some are thinking about a career change, and others are thinking about really pushing forward their credentials and actually going for a professional project management certification, which requires an exam. And this course of 40 hours is one of the items that you need to present to the examiners in order to apply for the exam. So I would like to give you a real brief overview of how all of these 40 hours break down. The first 6 modules, 1 through 6, are tools and techniques. At GBMC, I'm a senior consultant with GBMC, and I am a lead facilitator, and I will be joined later on the panel by my colleague, Scott Randall. We have been very practical project managers, myself for more than 2 decades. I have managed projects from capital projects to business improvement projects to IT installations enterprise-wide. You name it, it seems like I've done it. And I like to joke that I even project managed my own wedding. And I'm happy to say we came in on time and under budget. Those are the words that people like to hear, is on time and on budget, and the quality met the requirements. So the first part of our time together would be focused on tools and techniques. A lot of students tell me on day one, oh, Rebecca, if I just had some tools, if I just had some techniques that were what the industry uses, I think I'd feel better equipped and I'd feel more confident in what I'm doing. So the first 6 modules are tools and techniques. What we like to say is your toolkit helps you manage your project. You have to manage your project, and you also have to lead your people. And leading your people entails having some skills in the people area. And some people will say, oh, they're just soft skills, but I'll tell you, those soft skills are hard to do. So we have a philosophy that you need to be able to manage your project with tools and techniques, and you need to lead your people with project leadership skills. A little bit different than if you're leading a business unit, and you'll learn why it's quite different. As part of your curriculum with SMU, we do offer also for your deeper dive into something that might be of interest to you or something that you would like to build some skills in, a 1-hour coaching session with Scott Randall. You just sign up within 2 weeks of completing the course, and we will have an assessment for you during the course, so you will have an idea of which project management skills you could benefit by building up just a little bit. And with an hour of coaching, you can build your skills. On the other hand, if you would like an hour with an expert on some particular problem that you're facing right now, and I would love to see a show of hands if I could see you, who has ever run a project with no problems? They do abound, and this course is designed to address a lot of the problems that we typically see in project management. This is a very interactive course, so roll up your sleeves if you're going to join us. We use a case study. We spend a few minutes putting some theory forward, theory that is based on industry standards through the Project Management Institute. We are a registered educational provider. So we will get a little theory across, and then immediately you will go into a workshop and you'll use this case study to apply what you just learned. We'll go into breakout groups. In addition to breakout groups, I'll have you using chat. We'll do polling. We'll ask you questions, quiz and reviews. You are not going to be sitting still listening to me drone on or Scott drone on for hours at a time. That's not the design of this course. So the case study is based on a fictional manufacturing company, international locations, and the class will work in these breakout groups. We will sort you into teams and try to get a distribution of experience. So you may be in a team and you are just really just trying to figure out whether or not project management is for you, don't have a lot of experience. We're going to try to put somebody in the team with you that has some experience. And we've had people come to class with more than 10 years, 15 years experience looking to sharpen their skills or use some insight into new tools and techniques. So you will be put in a group and that team will work together all the way through this case study. But the objective is to learn how to create project artifacts that are interrelated, and they help you as a project manager stay focused on your project and inform you what the project is doing, why it's going to be a benefit to the organization, helps you keep your organization together, figure out who needs to be on your team, helps you with accountability. This is another item that really gives a lot of project managers, well, pause or heartburn. Rebecca, I just really struggle with that. There are at least 3 or 4 tools and techniques that we share that really help you with accountability and how to demand that of your team. It's necessary to get a good result. And then for those of us who are a little bit more advanced and would like a challenge, there is an open source software that we can create an entirely different case study for you to do at home. It is not part of the course. It's not mandatory. It's for your development only. So we're going to talk about 4 different tools and techniques or learning items that are just a small part of the overall course. There are 6 basic management tools for managing projects, and it's part of a system. And here you see our flow chart. And if you take the class, you'll have plenty of handouts and you'll have plenty of work aids and go-bys that you can take back to the office for quick reference. But the course is built around good practices in a project management system where you start out with your requirements, you do your planning, you staff your project, and so on. We will show you how an organization is supposed to support you as a project manager. An organization that wants to run good projects needs to support you by giving you processes and systems, by giving you the authority to run a project. And the charter, you will learn that the charter is the document. It's a contract between you and management. Management says, hey, I would like you to go and manage this project. And you say, all right, I need to know what it's about. I need to know why we're doing it. I need to know what my authority level is. How much can I spend? How much time can I take? How many resources, and so on and so forth. Charter, this is your authority as a project manager. And we've had students who come in and say, you know what, I don't think anybody really recognizes my authority. We're going to give you some tips. I'm going to show you this. I'm not going to make much of a comment on this. And the course as it goes along, and we're into, say, module 4, and we're a little bit past halfway in the tools and techniques part of the course, and said, Rebecca, why are we spending so much time on planning? Well, we spend a lot of time on planning because our philosophy is good plan, good control. And there's very few things for a project manager that are more career limiting than to let your projects get out of control. So we're going to show you how to keep a project under control. Come in on time, come in on budget, or as close to it as you can. And here's how it's done. This is based on a study of 25 high-tech projects. And you'll see on one axis, there is a final overrun. An overrun, by overrun we mean you went over your budget, or you went over your schedule, or you busted the project. So the final overrun up to 150%. And on this axis, the amount of time that was spent or cost as percentage of the project cost, how much did you spend just in planning? And I know a good project manager has got to work and negotiate with management because everybody wants to go, just do it. Just Rebecca, just go do it. And I said, wait a minute. Experience is telling me I really I really need to spend, in this case, the sweet spot is right about here. Around 11 to 15% is planning, spent on planning. And a lot of organizations that are not yet totally mature in their project management method really don't even measure this. Our opinion is that you really, really should. The first tool and technique that I want to share with you tonight is the work breakdown structure. Once you know what the project is going to be doing and you're certain that the requirements are going to be met with the scope, this is a wonderful tool because learners, participants in this course often say, Rebecca, they've got me working 3 to 5 different projects, and I tell you what, I just can't keep up with it all, and I just can't seem to get organized. And they go through class and we teach them about the work breakdown structure, which is taking this big project and getting bite-sized pieces of work that you actually can control. This is about task control. And after we finish the lesson on WBS, I look around the room and there are a couple people going, the light bulb just went on. I know how I can organize my life. This is going to be a lifesaver. And truly, a lot of these tools and techniques are about helping you maintain your composure and reducing your stress, because now you know what to do and how to do it. Many uses for the work breakdown structure. It can range from managing risk, because you use your work breakdown structure to see, okay, every task, I have to look at what could happen. You know that Murphy's Law, and Murphy shows up on projects big time. If you're a project manager, you're a risk manager as well. And for some project managers, this is a great way to manage costs. If you have a package of work, say 80 hours, you can control that task, and you can also monitor the cost. Many uses of a work breakdown structure, very handy. And there are certain things that you have to do if you're going to use the work breakdown structure. And boy, we think it's fundamental, because all of the other tools and techniques work off of the work breakdown structure. So there are just a handful of criteria that the industry says a project manager needs to pay attention to when doing the work breakdown structure. And there is a list this long of the types of WBS you could select. And there's like something for everybody. Depends on what your project is. You are going to find the best work breakdown structure for your project. A little bit more about the criteria. The Post-it note. And here's another thing that learners come in, and I want to make sure that you're aware. We do everything by hand in the classroom, even though there are numerous project management softwares out there. We like to get you to do your long division, if you will. Remember math class back in the day? The teacher wanted to see your long division by hand. We do all of these tools and techniques by hand, so you really clearly understand step by step how you're going to do it. And once you have mastered that, then it's time to go get the project management software. And Post-it notes are great, because you know what? They move. You change your mind, you want to here or there, Post-it notes, they're great. You don't like what you see, get another Post-it note, and nothing is hardwired yet. Categories, I mentioned, lots of categories. You can just carve up your project into manageable pieces. You can decompose it in a hierarchy by various different ways. Geography, if you have to do a project like I did with enterprise-wide and it's all over the world, or you can do it by organizational units, functions, you name it. Components, really, for example, if you were building a new jet, you have a work breakdown structure that has to do with the wing, the fuselage, the engine, and so on. Two other ways, for example, this is the same project. we're going to modify a cruise ship that needs a little facelift. And there is chronological. Well, the first thing we do is feasibility study first. Next thing we do, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. And over here, a lot of project managers who are just getting started forget this very important box. That's all about you. We think, as a rule of thumb, that 75% of your work on projects should be in project management, managing the project, not executing the work, not down there in the weeds. That's what your team is for. So this WBS helps you keep your head above the weeds, tells you exactly what you need to be doing, and people can recognize all of the work that you have to do to run a project. And functional, as you can see, it's the same exact project. It's just what marketing sales has to do, what are their little bite-sized chunks of work and the tasks they need to do, marine, and so forth. We're going to switch subjects now to something called the responsibility matrix. It has many different names. Companies call it different things, and you'll see in the industry, PMI calls it a responsibility assignment matrix, or RAM. Most often you'll hear either RACI, sometimes it's called RACI, and let me tell you a little bit about that and how powerful this tool is. For every activity that you have listed in the work breakdown structure, you can create a matrix and put people's names in it. The names should have gone in on the work breakdown structure already, but now you do this diagram where you match up tasks with people. And furthermore, because nobody likes getting their wires crossed, right? Because if you're not careful, you get gaps and overlaps. So this is very specific about what our responsibilities are. RACI comes from RACI as an acronym for who's responsible. I mean, who's actually going to go do it? Who's doing the work? Who's got their hands on it? Who's accountable? Usually at the end of the day, the project manager is accountable for the project. In some organization, there's somebody called a project sponsor who is got the A. They are accountable. And then C stands for they need to be consulted. Don't go do that task unless you talk to the expert, or until you talk to accounting, or you go out there and you see how the bench test is going before you go forward with your task. And then there are some people on your project or in the organization who just need to be informed. But this puts it all out there, so there are no mistakes about who's doing what and when. Comes later when you schedule. Here's an example of a RACI chart. You can see that the roles here, there's the legend for RACI. The sponsor in the first phase, called planning and definition, has got to create the project management plan, and so on. I'm going to switch now to the people side, or the people skills. Project manager needs to manage the project and lead the people. And sometimes, gosh, we all know there are some challenging behaviors out there. Would you agree? Yeah, I certainly would. I mean, I don't get along with everybody, number one. That's okay. I'm a project leader. I am supposed to ensure that the team works together and performs well together. So we spend a unit of instruction looking at behaviors, categories of behaviors that can cause the team to be dysfunctional, and a dysfunctional team does not perform and get the results it should be getting. So here are some types. I'm really going to go quickly through this, and you might say, oh, I know somebody like that, or oh, wow, how do I deal with that behavior? You have the egotist, and when you take this class, you'll have a handout that explains what kind of behaviors are we looking at when we say, gee, that cluster of behaviors, I recognize that pattern of behaviors. How am I going to change the behavior? I can't change the person, but I can try to redirect the behavior of somebody who is an egotist. It's all about me, you know. Anytime you have a conversation, it's all about me. It can be a little sensitive too. Now there's a know-it-all. Have we ever known any of these? Most of the time the know-it-all really does know a lot, but every once in a while you have kind of a pretend know-it-all, and those are trouble. They speak up and they say something erroneous, hopefully not in front of a client, but you know you've got to redirect that kind of energy. Otherwise they're going to suck all the air out of the room in the meetings and so forth. Oh, we know a few gossips, don't we? And they can be harmful, especially if the gossip or the information they're passing along about somebody just isn't true. It's just not fair, it's not right, and you as a project leader need to intervene. Here are some other types. There's the shadow. They go into a meeting, you never knew they were there. They were sitting there in the background so quietly, they may have been playing with their phone or taking notes, never said a word. So you don't know what they're thinking. Maybe you need their opinion and they're not speaking up. You as a leader have to redirect that behavior, especially if they go out in the hallway and say things like, I don't know what those people were talking about. I don't agree with that. Well, who knew, right? Problematic. That behavior is problematic. So the downer, ever had a downer you have to work with? Man, everything is awful. Oh, everything is negative. This isn't going to work. Well, we need to redirect that because they just really put a damper on everything. Haven't anybody worked with a steamroller, my way or the highway? And if you don't get it the first time, I'm going to say it a little louder. And then there's the wild duck, also known as sometimes a loose cannon. They just go their own way. They don't care about anybody else. Remember, I mentioned something about accountability. This is a big challenge for a lot of project managers. And some of the best project managers I have ever worked with have got this down. They use the WBS, they use the RACI chart, they have good task control, and they don't mind going and asking what's going on if the work is not getting done. It takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of skill, but it can be mastered. So some people on your team are going to have difficulty and they're going to be challenging simply because they have problems with accountability. And here's a handful of them, and I'll just introduce them to you. Here's the sniper. It's not my fault, it's his fault. He's not accountable. He didn't do the work, not me. Dangerous. And then there's the hot mess. You just never know where they are. What are they doing? There's got all these balls up in the air and just nothing ever lands, gets organized. Well, it's not me. It's you. You didn't tell me what to do. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I've heard it all. You probably have too. And here's the victim, one of my favorites. Oh, I am so overworked. Nobody's supporting me. I could go on, but I won't. Another group of people, there's a slacker. I think we all know what that is. They're on like permanent retirement already or permanent vacation in the workplace. Here's one of my favorites, the martyr. Oh, wow. You want me to do that in addition to everything else I have to do? Oh, well, I might do it for the team, but you know, I want a lot of recognition for that, and on and on and on. You've seen it, you've heard it. Here's our tip to you. You must be able to state what you are seeing and what you are hearing. Most of us are not psychologists. I certainly am not. I've just been watching this kind of behavior for 20 plus years, and you're probably not a psychologist. So all you can talk about is what you see and what you hear, just like it's a video recording. I see it, I hear it. Stick with that. Stay out of the realm of, oh, their intentions were like this, or I think they were. No inference, please. Stick with the facts. You can't go wrong. You can give great feedback too if you stick with the facts, and please don't try to fix them. Don't bring them to your office and say, I really need you to change. I need you to be a nicer person, or I need you to be the, no. They are working from their value set, not yours, not the company's probably, but what's important to them. And what is important to them is a need that is not being met on your project team or in the workplace. But your job as a project leader is to make sure they are not disruptive to you or to the coworkers. That's your job. You have to redirect their behavior. So here are some tips. So for example, the gossip is so driven by social needs. And when those social needs aren't met, they're going to give you trouble. Their behavior will give you trouble. So think about it. Most of my gossips, as long as they're not being vindictive or ugly, they organize the team buildings. I try to get them in front of people so that need for socializing is being met in a constructive way. And all the way down, look at the list there. And your handout will tell you all kinds of techniques for dealing with each type of behavior. And there's the know-it-all. You do need them every once in a while. But find out exactly when you want them to weigh in and have that conversation with, well, we need to hear from other people in this meeting. But we have to face the facts. We're here to learn about our leadership skills. Sometimes what looks like a really difficult situation has something else going on. And with your experience, you'll learn more about this, especially if you're looking at a team of random number here. You're looking at a team of 25 people and 15 of them seem to be showing difficult behaviors. You need to look at your workplace and you need to look at your team. What's going on the project team? A toxic workplace can really make good employees difficult. Be on the lookout. Now I'm going to switch gears to something we do toward the end of the class. You will have learned all kinds of tools and techniques for managing your project, and you will have been shown a number of people skills that would be good to build if you don't have, or to acquire, or to really refine if you think there's a better way of leading your people. And toward the end of the course, we bring all of this together and we let you look at a project situation based on the case study. And we ask you, okay, now, what would you do and why would you do it? So I'm going to play some video for you here, and just to give you a taste of what one of these project situations would look like in class.
Your 6-month project to conduct an energy conservation study encounters a problem. In the first month you had scheduled senior staff engineer, Ken Gifford, to take the lead on the site visits. The junior engineer, John Coldren, is scheduled to go along as a learning experience, so he could continue the effort on his own. A problem has just developed, associated with one of your company's major products, at a key client, in a different city. Ken helped with the design. The department director called Ken directly for assistance, as he believes Ken would be best to solve the problem. Ken comes to you with the conflict. He said he cannot do both jobs at the same time. What would you do, and why would you do it?
So there you go. What would you do? But you'll be able to have a discussion with your breakout teams, because now you have a toolkit and you have some people skills. And this particular situation requires both. And interestingly enough, this is a lesson about project authority. You see in the case, the situation where the engineering department manager came and talked to your team member directly, skipped over you. And now you have to deal with that situation. Plus the fact that you've got to reconfigure the schedule and all of your resources because you work for the same company. You have to serve the customer and you have to meet the deadlines on your project. I have enjoyed this few moments together here. I certainly hope you will join us, give some great consideration to spending 40 hours with us at SMU. And we do, SMU provide you with a certificate, which is evidence that you spent 40 hours in a classroom, 40 contact hours. Myself and Scott Randall, who will be on the panel here in a few minutes, would certainly invite you. We'd love to have you in our class. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to take it back.
All right. Well, thank you, Rebecca. That was a lot and definitely very informational for myself as well. I was trying to take the project management course back in May, but of course things changed. So I'll go ahead and invite Scott on as a panelist. Oh, there's perfect timing. Thanks, Scott. Before we go into the Q&A portion for about 10 or 15 minutes, I want to pass it off to Scott for a few minutes. Scott, if you can introduce yourself to everyone, let us know who you are and what role you play as well.
Sure, thanks an awful lot. And you got a great overview of the course from Rebecca. I think it's really powerful that she's currently teaching the course at SMU and has just this incredibly fresh perspective on the materials. My name is Scott Randall, and I'm the Americas Director for GBMC. I'll be the lead instructor on the October course, and Rebecca will be with me the evaluation portion. So we've got this this kind of dynamic going on that involves not only the presentation of the materials and the workshop materials, but also a certain amount of accountability and evaluation of your progress as you go along. And in addition to that, we'll have a coaching session after the 10-session course or program, whereby we'll be able to dive right into some of the problems that you might have for an hour or so as scheduled with myself or with Rebecca after the course. My background, as is Rebecca's, comes from a project management background. All of our consultants at GBMC were project managers first and instructors second. So we've got a wealth of experience we can bring to the course, and we really do look forward to having you in these evening sessions in October.
Awesome, thank you, Scott. Thank you for being a part of this as well. It's good for all of us to know who will be helping us with our coaching sessions. And as on the admission side, I hope you're ready for some of the questions that have been frequently asked and some during this session as well. So let's get right into it. We did receive a question. What advice would you give to those at around age 50 or middle of their career who want to learn project management and build on their careers before retirement? Have you seen any industry roadblocks as it relates to opportunities for those getting started this late in the game? And that kind of correlates with some of the other questions about career changers. And if any of you, or Rebecca or Scott, want to be able to shed some light on that.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yes, I began my career very early, but I have worked with a number of people who moved into the project management world mid-career. And in some organizations, it is well structured and supported, but even if it's not in your organization, look around for opportunities to start managing small projects. And your career needs to be a series of stepping stones where you go, what we call, you scale up, which means same type of project, just bigger. It costs more money, or it takes longer to do, or scope. You can start with a small project and then you get a bigger scope of the project. So I would say, Absolutely. I don't know what the stats are these days, but it used to be that most people have 6 different careers. I'm on my 3rd one. Yeah, I'm on my 3rd one when I think about it. So never say never, because it's fulfilling. There's nothing like coming in on a project that meets the goal and is high performing. And if you're like me, I don't like the same thing over and over and over again every day. You have to have a taste for the new and different, and be able to keep your composure when everything is falling around you. So take a serious look at it. And if this is your question for coaching, we certainly have a lot of advice, and I could show you a number of people who made the switch mid-career. Not a problem at all. Go for it.
Yeah, one of the things that I would add too is that what we've seen is that it's not your charisma that makes you a great leader. That'll last a little bit, but it's not really your, I guess, your ability to play office politics necessarily that makes you a great leader of a project team. What it is, we found more and more, is the ability to command a certain amount of respect. And so how do you command that respect? Well, it's street cred. And if you've got a career behind you, before you go into project management, you've got a leg up on someone who basically just got out of school and is trying to try their hand at managing people. You've got a certain amount of street cred that you bring as a result of simply your experience across a number of different areas. The second thing I'd like to bring up is that the role or the title of project manager has been expanded out so broadly across so many different industries that it's difficult to imagine that you can't find a project manager role in a variety of different industries. So it's not a limiting, an industry limited kind of a role. And today, more than ever, the title of project manager is a very, very opportunity rich environment. So those two things I would say is, coming into this with street cred and being able to tap into the broader range of project manager environments that we've got, I think bodes well for somebody over 50.
Thank you both for your insight on that. I think it's helpful to know that the skills and concepts we'll be learning in this course can be applied to almost any career path or any job field. Going further in that, I know that this is a weird time for a lot of people, especially with COVID-19, and everything has shifted into the online world, including this program. One of the questions we've gotten was, given the current state of things and everything moving online, if you could share some of your perspective on how project managers have adapted or are adapting to leading things from their desk at home or from wherever we are right now in the remote world. So I think that'd be real helpful for all of us.
Yeah, some of the things that are very interesting are that the skills that we thought were important in a face-to-face setting are sometimes even more important in a virtual setting. And what do I mean by that? We see skills like being organized, so critical because you can lose the attention of people so easily in a virtual environment. And if you don't have it together, then you're really not able to effectively lead the team. The second thing is, being able to document things and keep track of what was said and what needs to be done. This whole issue of accountability and responsibility, and we'll talk about the difference between responsible and accountable in the course, but being able to hold people responsible and accountable for certain things is very critical in terms of making sure that everyone knows what they're responsible for. So writing skills, surprisingly, writing skills, which have always been important, the ability to be able to document things and to be able to be transparent about what was said is something that's even more important in this virtual environment.
And by the way, we have done a series of newsletters. We publish a monthly newsletter on this very topic. How do you lead? How do you train? How do you motivate virtual teams?
Thank you. I know that's definitely something to look forward to, especially during the interactive parts of the class. So it's good to know that we were able to still practice that throughout the modules and the classes, and kind of leads to the next question as well. Rebecca, you mentioned earlier about being able to break out in groups and work on some projects. Could you shed a little bit more light about that? And it's kind of interesting to see how we'll be able to apply the concepts of working on the people side with the camera in front of us.
In the first 6 modules, we go through a series of tools and techniques. And if I'm teaching you how to do a work breakdown structure, the lecture is very brief. And then you go into a breakout session and you actually produce 2 different work breakdown structures. And if I'm teaching you how to do a logic or a network diagram, I give you the theory. I present the key facts of how to go about doing it and why it's important. And then you go into a breakout room and you actually produce a network diagram. And you come back and you show it to the rest of the class, and I comment on it. I ask questions about how you got to where you did and why did you come up with this answer and so on. So it's a debrief of what you just worked on. And most days, it's a 4-hour session. Most evenings you will be doing 2, sometimes 3 of these workshops. And some of them can be as light as 20 minutes, and others could be almost an hour if it's a heavy duty tool or technique that you're trying to learn.
I think, one of the things to stress here is that before we went into this kind of totally virtual environment, we thought, well, it's going to be very, very difficult to keep people engaged online, because there's so many verbal cues that you can give, but the nonverbal cues and nonverbal instruction that you have in a personal situation may not be available online. And so we've completely redesigned the course with that in mind, to be able to have an extremely interactive kind of a learning environment, whether it be polls, whether it be quizzes, whether it be workshops, whether it be chats. All of these things are mixed in such a way as to keep people engaged, keep them involved, keep our participants not only engaged and involved with us, but also engaged and involved with each other, either through the chat or while they're working in the workshop breakout groups.
Perfect. I guess it's safe to say we'll be very active throughout those 4-hour segments. Will the students still be able to work on that project that they present at the end of the course?
Yeah, they will be able to take all of the materials that they've created and all of the artifacts that we have available on Canvas, all of the handouts, they belong to the student once they've finished the course. And they will be able to download a different case study, but it is a project. It's a different case study that they can work at home. And we give an assignment that they can work at home on risk management. We give a couple of things that say, hey, you know what? If you're thinking about a lunch and learn, there is no better way to really learn something when you know you have to teach it. So take this extra exercise and take it home and see what you want to do with it.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to really stress this point of, this is not a one and done kind of a thing. This is the beginning of an adventure. And we've structured it in such a way so that there's a natural lead in to doing things after the class. a lead into doing things. Maybe, how can I apply this to my own work environment? How is it that I can continue to do this on current projects that I'm working on? That's kind of the whole philosophy of the course, is to take it out of the realm of simply instruction, take it into the realm of leading right into application.
Thank you for sharing that. I know a lot of students are curious about what they'll actually be doing in the classes, some of the assignments. I know you mentioned some quizzes and exams to be expected throughout the course. So is that something that they should anticipate as well?
I really enjoy looking at quizzes and tests because it's a test for me. It's a test for me on how clear I was in transmitting new knowledge, how clear I was in pointing out certain distinctions, key concepts, key facts that they need as part of the fundamentals of project management. So yes, if your organization does require a letter grade, we're going to show you how you earn that letter grade, but it is dedicated toward helping you recall key concepts and helping you, and vocabulary. Vocabulary is a big thing with this course, and it's a big thing with project management. Scott was talking about street cred. And sometimes I have to work with, I coach project management managers, and I say, you're not talking PM. Nobody can understand you. You've got to use the vocabulary. You've got to speak like a PM first, and that will get you a lot of respect, especially if you know how your organization speaks PM.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I know there's definitely a lot to look forward to. And if I could just bring it back to Scott as well, I know a lot of students are curious about that one-to-one session, and you had mentioned that earlier. Do you mind expanding on that just a little bit more, or any examples of what they may see or participate in during that one-to-one coaching session with you?
Sure. And again, I think that it goes along with this theme of the extension of what's in class. I will be leading the instruction, but Rebecca will also be in the class with me. And so there's not a disconnect between the coaching and the instruction. It's a continuation. And in fact, we literally set the foundation for the coaching in the class through a type of a benchmarking tool of your skills that we have you use to be able to go along 6 different categories of the project management method and self-assess where you are. And in that way, you can have a foundation of your own skills. Here's where I am. Now, where do I need to go? And that's really the structure then for the coaching session is you've identified your baseline, you've identified your gaps. Now let's prioritize those things relative to your own interests to be able to specifically take it in a particular direction and show some results. So we plant the seeds for the coaching session in the class itself.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I think it's reassuring to know that it'll be personalized at that time, and everything that they've learned will be able to apply just to themselves. And I think that's a unique time for each student to kind of discover things they may have not known before, or things they may be able to use in their current job. We are actually nearing the end of our webinar. That was fairly quick, actually. Just a few announcements to everyone who is participating and still here. I did post a discount code for the 10% off the current tuition rate in the chat box if you are interested in taking advantage of that during this time. We have recorded and we're still recording this webinar session, so we will be able to email this to all the participants who signed up for the webinar after this. I will post again my contact information at the bottom of the chat box. If you have questions about the admissions process, anything about SMU, or anything about the program itself, please feel free to either give me a call or shoot an email, so that way we can kind of get these addressed along the way. Other than that, I want to, again, just pass it one more time to Rebecca and Scott. If you guys have any closing remarks to leave us off with for the evening, it would be great to hear from you all.
One of the things that I would like to express is how much I enjoy teaching this course, and to really tell you, I learned something every time. I learn something every time because I firmly believe there is so much wisdom in the room and practical experience, even if you don't wear the hat called project management. So I would look forward to having you in my classroom, virtual classroom.
And I'd like to say that really with the wealth of experience that we see in the class, you can actually learn things from your classmates as well.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the real advantages here is when you're in those breakout rooms, you can actually see how it is somebody else thinks about something based on them bringing their experience into that workshop. The second thing I'd like to say is that this is not, although it sounds like you have this set of tools that you learn and you have these skills, these abilities that you're beginning to work on with respect to leading people, what it is really a framework for changing your mindset. It really allows you to create kind of this structure around which you can look at any temporary endeavor, has a start and a finish, and has a unique outcome, which is the definition of a project. So as Rebecca said, she's been managing projects since her wedding. And I think that any project that you're involved in, if you go into it with this mindset, hopefully you'll not only have the tools and techniques to be able to manage technically the project, but also be able to apply some of the leadership skills to lead the people in that project.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you both for your time tonight, for sharing your insight and your wisdom. And I know a lot of us may be looking forward to joining you on October 6th. So as we end tonight, thank you again to you two for taking your time. Thank you for everyone who participated and attended. Stay tuned for an email update for this webinar. And with that said, we want to wish you all a good night and stay safe out there. Thank you.
Philip.
Good night. Look forward to seeing you.
Bye-bye.